Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. The topic that we are going to discuss today is work stress. Today we all very often use this word stress. Everybody said we are under stress. Now as a management student, what we need to know about the stress. So first of all, let's see what is stress. Stress means the human reaction to event in our environment. That means how human body mind react to any situation or to any environment. Handsley defines stress as wear and tear on the body. Now the stress we can classify it in two categories: eustress and distress. Eustress is the good part of the stress. That is, some kind of stress is always required, always welcome. Because if there is no stress, the people will not going to perform properly or work properly. Good stress, like example of getting into college, getting engaged, winning lottery, where the people are very happy, excited, they wants to perform better. If as a student you have cracked math exam or cat exam, now you are under stress which college to choose. I'll do better in those colleges to get some good marks, get good placement. So this kind of stress is known as eustress, and the negative stress is called as distress. This form of stress is the bad stress. So the what are the different bad sources of stress? So difficult work environment can one of the option, where employees are working in a bad working condition, jobs are not properly defined, boss are not giving instruction properly, relationship with the colleagues are not good. Similarly, the sight and sound problem are there, which is also part of the working condition. Lot of noise underwear and you have to work like this. Threat of personal injury can be a problem of stress, like the machine that you were working on is not properly fenced and high probability of accident. All this kind can be a problem to stress, and this is what we called as distress. So stress are two type: eustress and distress. Eustress is the good part of the stress which is required to perform better, and when distress is the negative stress which is the bad stress. Now there are four types of stress. First one is the general stress, which everyone has this kind of stress. It resolves itself within a day or two. No intervention is necessarily required, like little bit of work pressure, little bit of excitement. So there will be some kind or other of stress which is always welcome and that can be resolved anytime. Second is cumulative stress. When stress build up in your body, it becomes very difficult to alleviate your symptom. You may have more serious physical symptom. You may have more serious mental agony. That means when this general stress slowly build up, you come under a stress where your body start reacting, your mind start reacting, your mind become you mentally become very anguish, your physical symptoms become very prominent that you are under stress. Third category is acute traumatic stress. When some critical incident happen, some death in your family, so you lose your job. So all these kind of critical incidents create stress, and those produce considerable psychological pressure, or we can say psychological distress, and the person started behaving abnormally. Abnormal reaction can be seen even in the normal situation, because that person is not in a position to cope up with the situation. So this is very serious kind of stress which we called as acute traumatic stress. And the last one is post-traumatic stress. Well, several stress produced by several psychological trauma created by unresolved critical incident stress. That means the critical incidents which create traumatic stress is not being able to solved by that individual, and that sustain persist in the mind of that person, and that is never ending, produce lasting effect on the psychology or on the body of that person. That category of stress will be termed as post traumatic stress. Now, these are certain stressors. Stressors are the sources of stress or the factors behind stress. The stressors can be of two types: individual and organizational stressor. Individual stressors are your life and career change, any change in your personal life, any change in your career which create problem, you become mentally upset, that can be a stressor. Personality type, it has been seen that person who are very introvert kind of person or are very prone to some kind of stressful situation. So your nature, your habit, your personality also sometimes become the problem or the reason behind your stress. Role characteristics, the role that you are playing in respect to your organization settings or in respect to your personal life, that sometimes become the reason behind your stress. As we all know, an individual is playing multiple role. He is a father, he is a son, he is a boss, he is a subordinate in organization, and each person has got certain expectation from that roles. And when those roles are not those expectations are not matched, the person will come under stress. So from an individual perspective, these are the various reasons where a person can come under stress. Similarly, in organizational perspective also there are certain factors which create stress. Like first is organizational policies. Organization policies are not very clear, they are vague in nature, they create, or rather we can say they distinguish between individuals, are the problem behind stress. Organization structure, that is organization hierarchy, organization layout, are the problem behind stress. Process of doing the job, process a very cumbersome process, very difficult process, the process are not well defined, those situation can create stress. And last one is obviously is the working condition, that is the working environment where the person is working. If it is not at all suitable, that will create stress among the individual. So these are the various stressor, or we can say various factors behind stress. Now the general adaptation syndrome, how an individual can adapt in such situation. So stage 1 is alarm reaction, the fight or flight response, which cause you to be ready for physical activity. However, it decreases the effectiveness of the immune system, which makes you more susceptible to illness. That means this is the stage where first kind of alarm you will be able to notice in your body or even in your mind, where you are under stress. So that's the first signal that you are getting, that individual is under stress. So in this situation, in some kind of illness will be there, so your immune system will be hampered like this. Stage 2 is stage of adaptation. If stress continue, the body adapt to the stressor it is being exposed to. Now this person slightly or slowly started adopting the situation. If the stressor is starvation, the person experiences a reduced desire for physical activity to conserve energy, and the absorption of nutrient from any body intake is maximized. That means at this stage the body started adapting to the situation, adapting to the stress. So the example here is given is the problem related to starvation. So whenever the people, the person experience a reduced desire for any kind of physical activity. So why? Because he tried to conserve the energy and to absorb maximum nutrient from any kind of food intake. Point number three is stage of exhaustion. This is the ultimate level when the person has exhausted. Stress has persisted for a longer time. The body resistance may be reduced. The person is right about to collapse. So people who experience this kind of stress may suffer to heart attack, severe infection, or chronic pain or illness. So these are the certain symptoms when we can identify that person has attained the highest level of stress. He is not able to cope up with the situation anymore. So these are the certain physical stress symptoms which from where we can identify that person is under stress, like dry mouth, cold hands and feet, increased sweating, rapid breathing, faster heart rate, feeling of nausea, butterflies in your stomach, diarrhea, etc. These are certain long term physical stress, like if the stress continue for a longer time, then person might have insomnia, change in appetite, frequent colds, feeling of intense and long term tiredness, and of course prone to illness. These are certain behavioral symptoms: yawning, talking too fast, talking too loud, nail biting, grinding teeth, drumming fingers, overreacting, emotional, defensive, irritable, irrational, aggressive. Some more behavioral symptoms will be a negative effect on performance also by reducing your effectiveness, making you accident prone, causing you to be forgetful, causing you to be very negative. You may neglect your appearance. You may make poor judgment, causing you to make more mistake and increase your absenteeism. So these are certain behavioral stress symptoms which will have a negative effect on your performance. Now this chart is showing how stress is related with the performance. As I said, there are two part, distress and eustress. When at this zero point, when at an initial point, when there is no stress or the person is not performing, that is also a kind of distress. People will come under stress because there is no job to do. So slowly, when he started working, the level of stress started increasing, and the performance also increased. And at this stage, he will attain the maximum level. That is the eustress, the positive side of the stress. Then again, it will start falling down, and that means his performance is going to affect. His performance started falling down as the level of stress increased because he is no more able to cope up with the stress, with the situation, and he will come under distress. So then from this what we can identify is that when there will be no stress at all, that's also a bad for a person for performing, because he don't have any job to do. But as slowly the stress increases, he started performing to a certain level, he has performed well, and that's the good part of the stress, you stress. But if that stress level increase further, again his performance started deteriorating, and he will come under stressful situation which we called as distress or the bad stress. Now, these are certain performance stress symptoms. Means when a person is under stress, how his performance will going to affect. That is, you may not make good decision. You may no longer enjoy your work. Your attention span may be affected. You may have more negative thoughts. Your self confidence will suffer. You may have difficulty in concentrating. All of your positive energy is consumed. Now, how do we manage stress? There are certain stress relief strategy. First is body relaxation exercise we can do. We can do little bit of yoga. We can work out our routine every day. We can do some kind of meditation, counseling. All this are helpful for managing stress. So healthy living to conquer stress is examine your diet properly, lower intake of salt, lower intake of sugar, lower caffeine intake. These are the vegetables, fruits, carbohydrate we need to have in our diet that will help us to conquer the stress. And there are certain other helpful tips to manage stress, like changing perception and expectation about the things, about the situation. Break jobs into more small manageable part. Set realistic and reasonable goal. Set boundaries. Don't compromise your values and belief. Schedule time properly. So, what are the benefits of stress management? First of all, your physical health get better, more energy and stamina you will have. You will become emotionally stable. You will have a positive attitude. Always you will be very hopeful and happier. Ability to focus improved, able to learn and achieve. So with this we come to end of this session. Thank you.